Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Hey there, friends, fiends, and other reprobates. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing well. We're gonna jump in and do another stream. Today we're gonna work a little bit more on the dungeon we've been working on. Filling out some more stuff. Before we jump right into it, and I'll go ahead and share it. We're doing the same thing, but I realized that I missed a slightly crucial step in the template that we do for the description. So I need to fix that back here on the Lavender Grove. We're going to take a step back and do this. So everything's the same. We have, you can see over here on the left, we have key for what location it is, some description for the location, the DC for the location. We got a little description of everything that's happening within there. As we try to go from kind of generic stuff to the more specific, more actionable things, that's how we do that. With the mechanics that are going on here, and nice little bolds that help me when I am trying to reference it quickly while we're sitting down to play. Look through that, but you'll notice what is missing here that we did way back in, I showed a little bit of, I think Groff and Gold was the last time that I brought it up and we showed that, because I got a little bit distracted because we did Halamus Mountain and we did some other foresty stuff, so where that wasn't as important. But what I want to do is this one's, I guess the Lavender Grove isn't too, I mean, this makes more sense. This will make a lot more sense for the Merregon's Gate, which is the one we're working on. But it is happy to know that there's ways. So we have basically exits, which is one thing that we didn't talk about previously. So we need to go back in and add those exits, just so I don't always have to refer to the map every time that I'm trying to go. You know, back to the listing totem. Because since we're a little weird, I don't always bring them up because there aren't any doors because it's an outdoor adventure. Continue. Path continues to, what is our second area? Veterans. Regiment. Just go back in here. Bop. And do that. Exit. Excellent exits. Exit. So, don't skip one. We have back to regiment camp. Right. Back to Broken Causeway. Split off to. This is a little bit different. One of the reasons I forgot it for Lavender Grove is because Lavender Grove is a very tight, like 5-room dungeon. Like I really don't want them to spend a lot of time here. In a normal dungeon, and we'll see that with Merregon Gate when we get to it, is that there's an option for me to add more stuff on the pathways in between them. So there might be an extra trap or an extra hazard or a chance that they might have some wandering monsters they have to deal with. I like to add those in. So this is the split off to section 4. Crocodile value. And continues to the Helix Shack. Drop these in like that and bolt them up. Easy peasy. Easy. And like I said, these are just like nice little easy things that I like to add in when I'm doing this, so that way I don't have to look at the actual flip over and look at the map every time and start looking at exits. I can describe them very easily to the group. Look sign down. I think even though this one's inside the cabin, the floor is torn up and dug down to reveal intrusion to Veteran Warren. Essentially, at this point, right to Crocodile Bayou. And left to, what do we call number 5? Ground Keep. And that way, if I do this, then I actually don't have to put that in the exits section. So really the only exit is back. Otherwise, the Helix Shrine is kind of a dead end. Dead ends into the Grove here. At this point, you're going to be back to 2, which was the Vegemin, right? The Vegemin. Keeps adding a little T on there. Or maybe that's an autocorrect. Maybe it's an autocorrect thing. I don't know. Okay, Crocodile Bayou. Yeah, the exit's here. Exits in Crocodile Bayou go back to... no, I guess it was just me typing. Back to Vegemin Settlement. Forward to Ground Keep. And this is what we probably put in here, Blue Remains. We can put Warren Path from... because there's a chance that they might not go in here, but it's unlikely. They should probably end up going through the Warrens to get here. But there is always a chance they don't. Warren Path from Helix Shack. That way we can put it there. So it is an exit, but they have to go looking for it. It's not the straightforward exit, which is running down the path. And then 5. We can have... Enter, I bolded this, which I'm going to that way we can actually do this. Take that bolt off. And I was looking for ways to get rid of that orphan there on that line, get rid of that shack that's just hanging out on the line by itself. But it's not a necessity. I bet I can drop this to people. I'll probably do it. Yeah. There we go. And we can put for our exits down here. Only the one exit. That's going to be back to Crocodile Bayou. Bayou. There we go. That was it. Super simple. We're just gonna hop in, fix it up, and now it's done. Great on us. Of course, if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to drop those in the chat. Or if you're watching this later, leave a comment. I like to get to them, but you know, kind of depends on my day. Some fresh coffee. We're supposed to have some potentially bad weather. I can see the winds picking up outside. So just FYI, is I need to run off a stream or our internet breaks. My internet breaks for whatever reason. That'll be why. But until then, I figured we'd work on a little bit of this. Hopefully all of this is in Google Docs, so it's all auto-saved, which is nice, so I don't have to worry about losing a bunch of progress. Just the normal things that would do to your computer when you lose power. Alright, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I need to do on Lavender Grove? I don't think so. Again, this is... I don't want to put in too much time on this, and we could probably break this. Yeah, oh man, this is going to take us right to 3 pages. Dang, that sucks. That's alright. I really don't want it split on separate pages. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and insert a little break here. We're going to do page break. Just makes it easier for me because I run off of hard copies to flop back and forth. I don't like to use the PC at the table whenever possible. Even though I have my Remarkable, which is like a right in between like an e-reader. It's a digital notepad, so it's right in between an e-reader and a tablet, kind of. So I mean, I could run it off of that. I try not to. I prefer to run it in just paper and then scratch it up as I need to. And then 5's just gonna have to hang out by itself on its own page, unfortunately. Because I don't think we're gonna have enough. Let me pull these guys back up because we separated those guys earlier. I forgot. There we go. Okay. I don't think we're gonna have enough to make. I don't think I can get these on one page. Let's see if I double up the columns. Will that do that? Oh no, not quite. All right. Hey, Levy. That's all right. These guys can still go back on the other page. That works fine. Actually, so it's not that big of a deal. I was thinking it was a big deal, but no. We were going to be I was going to be printing that many pages anyways. So it'll be fine. That shall suffice. Merregon's Gate. Okay. Hop back in. We're going to keep doing what we've been doing, which is we're going through here and we're making up our scene. We've got some basic information, and now we're kind of fleshing things out. So we've done the flooded jail. That's the one that's in the thumbnail, by the way. We've got this flooded prisoner area, 20 by 40 foot. I can go ahead and... I don't need it, but I'll drop it in there. Anyways, rusted cells. There's a breach in the corner where there is brackish water that's intruding into here. So there's water that's kind of like up to like maybe knee height for a medium-sized creature. We have this massive skeleton statue that's like fixed to the wall that's holding those iron rings in its hand with chains that go off to skeletal remains. Long dead prisoners. And we've got those Sahagwin guards cleaning fish. What they're doing. And they got a little sack of loot that's stuffed in there. It's trapped. It's got a little poison sea urchin inside. You jam your hand in there. It's I will probably do... I didn't write anything down because I'm going to riff that while I'm doing it. I know what the DC is going to be because I use the same room DC for everything. So it'll be a DC 11. Notice it and or, avoid it. They're going to stick their hand in there, and if they get it, I will probably give them the poison condition. I prefer to do the poison condition over just doing poison damage, because damage, there's plenty of ways to get damage. But I would prefer to have the condition. And then there are spells and other ways that they can get around that. Remove poisons and things like that, if they want to. We do have a cleric in the party, so they should be able to assist with that, as well as a druid. Let's see. So we've done AO1. So there's two sections of the dungeon. There's the A section and the B section. So I think we've done the flooded jail. We've done the game hall. We have not finished the cantina. We need to flesh that out, or the religious area. We did the flooded storehouse. That's what we spent most of our time on last time, because that's probably going to be one of the bigger kind of combats. Most likely to be a combat anyways. So just run that back down. The passage declines and disappears in dirty stagnant water on both sides because this place is 30 feet flooded. Well, that water provides light obscurement, so disadvantage on perception, but no disadvantage on attacks. And then there's a message, infernal password check when passing through the doorway. We have somebody in the party who speaks infernal, so they should be able to get it. I don't know what that message is going to be. I don't really need to think about that right now. It'll take them a little bit of time before they get down there. I can always make something up on the fly if I need to. What I do need to do, and what we don't have yet, is a way for them to figure out that password beforehand. So somewhere around here, they're going to have to be able to get that information. So, if the stars align and they go through the dungeon in just the right way, they can pick up the answer to the password check before they get there. But what will likely happen is that they won't. But they have somebody who speaks infernal, so I might make it like a little riddle or something. Depends. I'm not a huge riddle person as a DM, or a puzzle person as a DM. I don't find them usually interesting, but in this one it might be alright. They'll take half damage from it from being underwater because it'll do 40 10 plus 4 fire damage to whoever's there, and then it has this timed reset. So as soon as it goes off, I'm going to start rolling d6. Shouldn't, assuming that they're paying attention, my players are paying attention, they'll be like, we run through, or swim through in this case. So they won't have to worry about taking another hit, but if they dilly-dally too long, they're going to get tested for the password again. If they fail it again or try to pass through again, they're going to have to do, again, the dex save or take damage. They can cheese it once they figure that out. That's okay. If I get one's more than enough when I'm doing 4d10 plus 4 damage to them. Because this is supposed to be, dungeon is meant for a 4th level party. So if I hit one person with up to 44 damage, but more likely 26 points of damage, that's the average, they're not going to be feeling great. And if they've come right out of that encounter, they're going to be feeling even worse. Because in that encounter, we have these Sahagwin guards and giant toads that are under there. So they're going to try to grab them, pull them underwater. It'll be a real nasty fight. And it will not be smart for them if they want to do that. But I give them this little makeshift floating platform that they can stand on. So that way they're not in the water. They can run around this giant flooded storehouse and jump across the shelves and potentially knock them over. Actually, I should probably add this up here. That's probably a smarter place for that. They decide to take on the shelves. Like if you've ever been to any sort of essentially warehouse store where they have just aisles of stuff in large like industrial shelves, something like that, except more anachronistically medieval, so mostly wood. But if they jump from one to another, there's a chance they knock the whole thing over. And then you get the cool movie library effect where it's like one hits another, and they all kind of like domino down in the storehouse and make a whole bunch of damage, or make a whole bunch of noise. And if they make noise, maybe I call for a wandering monster check, we'll see. I like to keep that stuff pretty loosey-goosey and do it on the fly. And that's where we left off. And we did one more. We did the armory, which was really interesting too. I really enjoyed the armory. We're going to have that surprisingly dirty giant. Remember, they're in the section B, and section B is giant themed. So everything is huge. So it's 120 by 120 foot room. So that's massive from a D&D scale. You've got these giant rusted items, knocked over racks, and weapons and armor. They've got oil that's spilled across the ground. There's acrobatics checks to move full speed. If you fail that, you fall prone. If you only move half speed or less, you don't have to make a check. You basically treat it as difficult terrain. And then we have these 2 damaged flesh golems. And I'm just gonna like those. We're gonna have to change these troll limbs a little bit. I talked about that last time. Where I'll just move their hit points around and give them some of the golem stuff, because the idea here is that they're going to realize once they get in there, and I didn't write this down because I know it, and I'll remember this, that they were basically using these spell-stitched corpse creatures as ways to test their arms and armor against the fiends that have inhabited this place. So they're all cut up, so they're damaged already, but they're still alive. I mean, they're Frankenstein monsters. And then you have the limbs that are just operating by themselves, flopping around on the floor. And if they do that investigation, they'll find the double button, which we talked about last time, which is very, very interesting, but it is a cursed item. And given the ability that they can choose this 1d4 weapon, that's like a giant weapon, so they can pick up a giant dagger, and that's essentially a 2-hand weapon for them. So they can pick up, because giants are a huge category. So they can pick up like a giant's dagger, and that counts as like a 2-hander greatsword. Or a club counts as whatever the 2-hander mace is, a great mace or whatever. Great club. A club will count as a great club. There we go. So now we just need to know what do we want to focus on today? Where do we go? I'm not particularly drawn to anything, so when that's the case, we might as well just go straight down from the top. We'll just do it in order. So we did this one, we did the game hall, so let's do Cantina. Alright, so we have this Cantina area. It's a common room / with like a built-in kitchen on the side, a little kitchenette thing that's going on. We know that it's still relatively large. This is in the A section though, so it's not giant sized. Or else it would be... That becomes what? 180 by 180? Oof. That's big. Very big. So, we know there's a common room and kitchen. There's some sort of a utility magical effect. The self-cleaning. There's some lighting. It heats or cools or illusion or music quiet. I'm probably going to go with heating. I think that there's probably like a hellfire oven in here. I like the idea of that. I'm probably going to go with that. That you can get like a hellfire oven in there. So you switch the magic button and it like pulls direct like hellfire into that through a little portal. So there's no smoke, there's no fuel needed, nothing like that. It just pulls straight hellfire. We're gonna have some statue, pillar, or carving in here. That was our other stuff that we've got in here. Dice. Do I remember what dice means? I think... Why do I have dice in here? Feels like it should have been in the game hall, but it's not. That's okay. It must have just been... Yeah, it must have just been another one. Ooh, I bet you I can do the oven thing and combine that with the statue. If I make it some nasty, like, impish, squat-looking demon. I have like a fat imp miniature. The D&D official miniature. It's like this pot-bellied imp kind of thing. So I'm thinking if something like that, where it's just kind of like hulked over like this, but you take its guts are gone, made out of stone, and the interior is just the oven. Ugh. Like that. Maybe like the flames flare through its eyes and out its mouth or something too. It'd be fun. I like it. There's something for them to mess around with. Will they try to do something with that? Maybe. If they come up with a good idea, I'll probably let them do it. If they figure out a way to maybe bottle it or something. Maybe they can use it for something. I'll let them treat that as like a like alchemist fire flask or something like that. I'll let them steal that if they want. But if they figure that out, I'm gonna have to make it dangerous, or else they'll just start, abusing it. And I don't want them to abuse it. I just want them to get a cool thing out of it. So there's always... I might have to put that behind a check. EC 7's very low, so I'm definitely going to have to raise that. If not, there's going to be some sort of like terrible feedback out of it. Maybe it'll scorch the whole room. Yeah, maybe that'll be it. It's like if they screw it up, it's going to like backdraft through the whole room and hit everybody. That might be enough to keep them on their toes. And then we have dice in here. Hot. We've got our hot in here as well. That's hazard, obstacle, trick, or trap that's going to be in here. Probably going to be a trap, but maybe not. Let me see if I have any... Did I know say anything specific? Usually I like to set it out so it gives me a determination on how many traps there are versus hazards. I don't think so. Oh, I've got hazard in here. I can always have that magical effect be not working correctly. That's a very, very easy one to do. There's that persistent utility magical effect that's in an area, but it's really old and it doesn't work correctly anymore. Kind of on a rampage. Might do that to turn that into like a hazard that, it blows through on like a timer or something, and they'll have to figure out how to get across it, because it's a pretty big room. Yeah, there's a chance that they could. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, let's start figuring. We've said a lot of things. Let me start making some things, take them from the thought bubbles and start putting them down on paper. Make them realistic. You know what? Let's start with loot. I just want to roll some loot. Let's do that. Do I have the loot tables in front of me? Of course I don't. Hold on one moment. Let me pull them up. Let's see. This was in a different. In the reference. Is it? Perhaps. No. That's the improvised traps one. I'm looking for. Nope, that's the wrong one. I may just have to go grab it. Nope. I need to clean up some stuff in my Google Drive. I got a whole bunch of stuff that's old and kind of outdated. Well, I don't have it, so that means, unfortunately, I'm just gonna use the paper one I have. Sorry, I don't want to spend too much time trying to look for it, so let me grab it. Got it in my Dungeon Master binder. Pull it out real quick. We unfortunately did not play D&D. We had a miscommunication among our group, where half our group thought we were playing, and half our group didn't think we were playing, based off of things we had said the week before. Well, I didn't put it in my bag because I didn't need it because I was running. Right here on my shelf. Alright. Let's do some loot. Loot, 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 loot! Alright. 4 PCs, 4 rolls. 9, 19, 7, 12. Alright, so 1 magic item for sure. Yes. 7, 9, and 12. 2 trade goods and pocket contents. We can deal with that. We can go. Nope. We've got pocket contents. X2. Magic item! Woo! Nice. Yeah, on my little loot table, it's a D20 table. If I roll a 19 or a 20, that means that there's a magic item here. Most of the time, that's going to be like a spell scroll or healing potion, some low-level thing. But occasionally, it's a really nice thing. And then, because there's one down in here, because I want to show this off, even though we've talked about it before. You'll see right here where it says loot times 2. When I see that there's loot times 2, I automatically infer that to mean that there will for sure be a magic item there. This time, we didn't have a loot times 2. There's just a random magic item. Alright, let's do a pocket contents. That's technically a D66 table, but I've got it on these two twos. Little tutu. Ooh, a handkerchief. You know, we have literally a handkerchief in the previous room. Let's roll again. 5. A pocket lamp. I think we also have a pocket lamp somewhere else in here. So let's roll again then. Sometimes I'll just reverse it. I guess that I don't like, I'll just reverse it this time. Perfect, actually. Actually, this is perfect. So 3-6 would be some sort of like nuts or seeds, and that makes sense for being in the kitchen, but I kind of like 6-3 better, which is a piece of paper that's directions. Now those directions, like we said, we need some directions on how to get through the password in there. So maybe I can just put that in there. That sounds good to me. So it's going to be, we'll say it's like a human skin scrap with an infernal. What do you think? Just one word? You know what? Let's roll. Unless you can't see what I'm doing. You gotta keep me honest. Yeah, you gotta keep me honest. There we go. So I want them to be like this human skin scrap. Remember, this is very like fiendish kind of thing. So I'm gonna roll a d6. 1 through 3, it's gonna be 1 word. 4 or 5 is gonna be like 2 words. If I roll a 6, it's gonna be like a full phrase. All right, this is a full phrase. Let's say burned into it. We'll say humans can scrap burned with an infernal rock. So they'll be like, oh. Now, again, we do have somebody who speaks infernal, so I would probably need to come up with something for that, but I don't know what that's going to be yet. Also, what section is that guy in? It's in here, right? No, it's the storage area that's in 805. Okay, yeah. All right, so yeah, so it's fully in there. It's fully within the fiendish side of things. Right. No problem. All right. So we need 2 trade goods. Roll for them. I rolled a 2 and 11 on my little trade goods thing. That's some sort of art or decoration. And 11 is some sort of gemstone or jewelry. Go. Decoration. Gemstone or jewelry. And then we're gonna have that magic on. All right, let's figure out some sort of cost, guys. 14 and 9. Okay, so a D50 silver pieces, so nothing too fancy. All right, I rolled 50. That'll work. So it's not gonna be something too pricey. Good. You know, this is one of those things where the only thing that I don't have, like a nice thing that tells me like art objects. I'm pretty sure there's a table in here. 25G. They're not a 50G? Yeah. Okay, there are no 50 GPs. Alright, so let's go to the 25 art objects. Ewer is always nice. Ah, the pair of engraved bone dice. That's a 2-for-1, baby. We can get the dice and these pair of engraved bone dice. Always love a twofer. Alright, so Idol's cast of solid gold, Nicholas is studied with precious. So a pair of engraved bone dice. You know what? I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Come Deliverance. So I'm gonna say that this is going to be like a full set of like Farkle dice. So it has like a little silver cup with it too. Or maybe copper cup. Yeah, it's only 50. I mean, it's only 50 silver. Oh right, it's 50 silver, not 50 gold. So we actually need something that's much less than that. That's fine. I mean, we can still get the engraved bone dice. That's still that'll all be fine. So yeah, we'll just cut everything else out. It's a pair of engraved bone dice. I like it. Then we can get rid of this dice one because we're already going to get it. You can just put that down as 50 silver. And then we need something for our gemstone jewelry. Let's roll again. See just kind of how much it is. We need 3 of those. Oh, it's going to be really, really low. That's in fact going to be, I think, too low for anything. Also, there's just a good old treasure table. Yeah, everything for that's going to be pretty low. Hmm. That's fine. That's fine. Let's see what the actual total is. I rolled a 6 and a 4, which is going to be very low. So I rolled a 6 and 4. That is a d20 copper pieces, which is basically nothing. See how many copper pieces is. 18 copper pieces. Alright, so not quite 2 silver. This is a good thing. Sometimes I look at the trade goods thing to see, like, kind of give me... It gives you items at certain prices. So for 2 silver, something that's roughly 2 silver is about 2 pounds of iron or a yard of canvas. So it's going to have to be something pretty mundane. And this was supposed to be like a gemstone or piece of jewelry. If that's the case, then it's got to be just like a plain copper band. Just what we'll put. And then I'll probably bust it up to 20, so that makes it easily divisible by 4. Make it nice and easy for my friends. Plain band, which I'll remember is a ring, which is worth about 2 silver. Or 20 copper. I'll do it that way. So I tell them, even though my friends have been playing D&D, this group has been playing D&D for a while together. Sometimes you'd always tell somebody who's played for a very long time, and especially been a DM, versus somebody who hasn't, is that they haven't memorized the denomination changes between gold and silver and electrum and copper and platinum. And depending if you're playing 4th edition, astral diamonds. So you can tell them it's 2 silver and they'll be like, I don't know how to divide that by 4. And be like, yeah, it's 20 copper pieces. So it's 5 each. Alright, so I like the pair of engraved bone dice. It's like somebody couldn't get into the game hall or whatever, so they're in this sort of common room. They've been messing around. Have this plain copper band. I like that too. And now we just need our magic item. Okay, so I've got some magic item tables in here. This little guy right here. And primarily I want to find out their magic item by adventure tier. So I'm going to roll a d20. If I roll a 15 or higher, it's uncommon. Anything that's 1 through 14 is going to be common. That's common. Perfect. No issues there. And then I'm going to take it over here. I'm going to roll a d10 instead. And this tells me whether 1 through 4 is going to be a single-use item, so like a potion or a scroll. 5 through 7 is going to be some sort of multi-use thing, so something that's like it has 3 uses of something before it's gone. Still limited though, it's still consumable. Charges for an 8 or 9, something that will have charges, usually like a wand or something like that. And then, if permanent, if I roll a 10. So what kind of common item is it going to be? Common consumable. Well, a common consumable item only gives us a few options. We can look at that real quick. Let's go home. What am I looking for? Items. There we go. Filter. We want something common. Now we do want something that's sometimes this thing gets real weird. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's do common. Even though I think that gives us way too many things that we don't really need. But most of the things, what we need is a scroll, spell scroll, cantrip or level 1. Easy peasy. Or the potions up here. Alright, so we'll just do this. I'll just roll. If I roll high, on d20, so 11 plus, it's going to be a scroll, otherwise it's going to be a potion. Alright, 1's as low as it goes, so it's a potion. So we have a few potions down here. We can go look at potion. We've already got this filtered. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's watch full rest too. Magic can't put you to sleep. You can remain awake during a long rest and still gain benefits. Ooh, that's very nice. Yeah. I'm gonna roll a d4. I reserve the right to, if I roll a potion of climbing, to be like, nope, I'm not giving them potion of climbing. Just because I don't think there's going to be a lot of climbable elements in this dungeon. And sometimes when you get something like a potion of climbing, or at least for me, as a player, when I get something like a potion of climbing, I'm like, oh, so there's definitely something I should be climbing in this adventure. Even though, when you do randomly, it's not supposed to do that. Well, I rolled a 1, so we're going to reroll. 8. 2. A potion of comprehend. Ooh, actually, this is very, very good. You get the effect of comprehend languages spell for 1 hour. Actually, this was probably would have just been the one I choose. Even though, actually, all the 3 others are super useful for my group. Potion of healing, always nice. Potion of watchful rest, also nice. Though they do have an elf in the party. They do have somebody who will be up for the rest anyways. And you have, and he is the druid, and he has the ability to take some of that downtime to try to create potions, because he gets an extra 4 hours of downtime, because he only needs to transfer 4 hours. That's an OP build. I had one experience playing in a group of only elves, and that is incredibly OP. When you have a group of adventurers who only need half the amount of sleep, it basically means they can outrun just about every threat over land. It's like if somebody's trying to track them, they just won't be able to track them. And it gives them the ability to do a whole bunch of downtime activities in the same amount of time that they would need to wait for normal people, like shops to open and things like that. They just have like 4 extra hours in the day, so they can craft a ton of stuff. It's really good for doing any of those kind of downtime things in short demand. Which means you can craft a whole bunch of potions. Do other sorts of stuff. Yeah, we'll do the potion of comprehension. This is great. Like I said, I have somebody in the party who speaks Infernal. Now, unfortunately, that is the player who's going to be exiting our group. Actually, not just the campaign. The group very soon, because they are actually doing a geographical move, so we can't play with them anymore. So once they leave, they won't have somebody who speaks Infernal anymore, which is likely to happen before they get to this dungeon. So that potion of comprehension could be extremely clutch. And it's a little sad that it's in exactly the same room, but how it goes. I'm good with that. Potion of comprehension. Done. Okay. I have some random hazards in here, so I think I'm going to roll on the random hazard table just to see if I get something else that's more interesting than doing the potbelly imp stove fire oven that's going to go off. Because I like that a lot, but I'm always open to see if something else jumps out at me. There's something else cool that I can think of. Yeah. Here we go. Improvised hazard. So I have a d20 table of these. I'm going to roll twice. I like to roll twice and then see if I can combine them or just choose whichever one I like the best. 20. Oh, natural 20, baby. Alright, and a 6. 6 would be flooded chamber, so this chamber is next to the flooded chamber. No, it's not. Never mind. This is dumb. So probably not flooded chamber unless it's flooded with fire. And we've already got oil on the floor in a different room, so I don't want to redo that. Alright. And a natural 20 is some sort of sink. And by that I mean a hole, mud, sand, tar, something that like slurps you down. I'm not sure if I know anything that would make sense for in like this particular type of room. I mean, sure, the floor could be broken or rotted out or something and fall beneath, but there's no... If I was building a dungeon that had a second level to it, I would probably go with that. And so there's a way that they can actually fall through the floor into a different area of the dungeon, then figure out where to go from there. Because sometimes that can be really fun gameplay to be like, oh, do you spend your time climbing back up and out? Or do you just go from where you are now and just keep exploring? And also, it's a big crash, so there's a chance that, like, monsters come to investigate. I don't think I'm going to do that here in the game. So I think we're going to go with what I was doing. So we're going to be... I think I'm just going to use what I already had. So we'll put in, like, one corner. That way it kind of shoots across, I think. One corner or two? Yeah, I could also just put in the middle of the room. That'd be fine too. Like the middle of a wall, not the middle of a room. Yeah, we'll say... I'm trying to imagine the room layout. So instead of having them go from one end to the other end, because there's no other exits out of this room. So from one end to the other end, I could have it where they need to go across the room and then hook and go out to like the left or right side, and then that potbelly oven is sitting right in the path of where they need to go, or shoots right across the exit. So that way they're going to have to go across the path to get to it. So there is a chance that essentially the hazard will go off. Do I think this thing's gonna be just like belching fire like crazy? I guess, yeah, let's ask that. Is it just like continuously going off? It could be. Yeah, alright, so it's just continuously going off. Maybe I'll make two of them, that's fine. Yeah, so if I put... It's a 60-foot room, so if they have to use their full motion to go across, and that's one that attacks you on the first run, one that attacks you on the second run, so they can stop in the middle if they need to, or they can keep running. The one at like 15 and one at 45. And they're spewing this hotness across. I like that. I'm good with that. Say... long wall R2, large imp molded ovens, belching hellfire, what's like kitchen ovens. Ovens on the fritz. They belch hellfire across the room. Okay, 2 foot and 45 foot. So they're gonna belch hellfire across the room. Across the room. We'll say it's a deck save. Unless they figure out some other way. Like again, if they have a spider climb or something like that, they can get across it. If they want to, if they want to say like, hey, can I hide behind my shield or something like that? I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's still a dex check, but you can add the +2 from your shield or something like that. So this would be an individual. Oh man, this is gonna be really tough. So I'm gonna split in half. Take 2d10 +2. Per oven blast. Or per, per blast. So that way they run all the way across. Do that. And they'll take that half damage. I can probably remove damage. I know it's damage. Half on save. Again, there are ways they can avoid that if they want to be like, can I do some sort of weird acrobatics check to jump over the flame completely? Maybe. I'll let them know that, but it's like, hey, if you fail the acrobatics check, you are for sure, you don't get the dex save, you're going to fully take the damage. Leave it up for negotiation, some improvisation while we're doing it, but really straightforward if we just want to play it, you know, as D&D 5e 2024 plays, we can go dex save, take half the damage per blast. We'll say spewing rather than dodge. Alright, so then that kind of takes care of all of this. We pretty much did that. This is a pretty simple room. If they stop to investigate it, if they'll have to figure out some other way to deal with this thing, if they want to pick up the loot, they're going to have to avoid this stuff. Or... you know, when I do that, they might get an investigation check or something. There's a lot of fire going on, and most of the stuff they can find is like metal or engraved or something like that. Like, they'll probably pick up what it is pretty quickly. Burned remains of tables and benches. Soot. Layer across walls. Let's see that. Strong smell. Sulfur. Sorry. Is it you are? It's you are, right? Yes. Strong smell of sulfur. On the wall are two large imp molded kitchen ovens on the fritz. They're spewing hellfire across the room that can scorch the PCs. Dex save or take 2d10 per blast, half on save. If they're just like, I look around the room to see what else is in the room, I'll be like... And again, this is a hazard, so it's not like a trap. There's no off switch here. This is something that's supposed to be working correctly, and it's not working correctly anymore. So now it's just shooting hellfire that's being ported in from a different plane. All over the place. But if they take the time to look around, like, hey, what do I see? And depending on who does it, then they'll start to see things like, oh, you see some sort of scrap of leather or something, and they can go pick that up, and that's the human skin scrap burned with the infernal phrase. But they might not pick it up. They might be like, it's not worth maybe messing around with this room. Spending extra time in this room. Especially after one of them probably takes that 2d10 plus 2 blast. Be like, you can also find this pair of engraved bone dice that are on the floor. Maybe under like one of the burned tables or something. And along with a plain copper band. And a potion of comprehension. You can give a color. Give me a random color. Ooh, this very sort of like musty yellow color. I like that. We'll call that musty yellow. So if they're looking at it, you can tell them, it's a musty yellow. Be like, oh, it's obviously not like a red healing potion or a blue like mana potion or anything like that. Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I think that'll be good. It's big. My inclination is to add a bunch of stuff in, just like I did with this flooded storehouse, but I gotta do those sparingly or else it'll take forever to get through this dungeon if I do every room like that. They'll also get the butts kicked out of them. So it's okay if every once in a while it's just like, it's just a room. There's a trap in here. There's some loot in here. If you want to spend some time to go get it, that's great. If you don't, it's up to you. No problems. Alright, so that's that done. That's the cantina, baby. We'll just say canteen and kitchen. And I'll say kitchen. We'll say kitchen counter, flanked by 2 large and older. Perfect. And then once I get done, I'll come back in. We'll do those exits. That. Liz, gotcha. All right, so we've got the cantina. That's done. We can move on to the religious area if we want to do that, or if we want to see if something else sparks our interest. We can go for it. Now we've got that knowledge area. That'll be really fun. We've got the Merregon suite. That'll be fun. I think let's do the stuff because I think I don't want to do the Merregon suite until I have the rest of section A done. Really give me an idea of like what I want to put in the Merregon's actual suite. So in that case, let's just keep going down. So we've got this religious area, DC 13, 20 by 14. It's got like a chantry, a chapel, or a little shrine, or anything like that. So directions, we got a message that we can leave in here, which would be really cool. An interaction, something's gonna screw up when we mess with it. The pedestal, that'll probably be the thing that we interact with. And then we've got a hot in here. Did I notate what that hot is? The hot is... I don't know. Okay. So it could be a trap. A trap maybe feels a little bit. So we had something that was a trap earlier in the gambling hall. Then we have a hazard in the cantina. So we could go either way here when interaction breaks. So maybe that makes more sense as like a hot. And why did I write that down there? Not correct. Oh yeah? Where it tails off. The religious area is where it tails off if we're going to make the move from section A of the dungeon to section B of the dungeon, which is where the Vegeman break-in passage is. Sid. You're looking for DMs. You'd like to run an idea for a character by an experienced DM. If your boyfriend is onto anything here, would it cause problems? Yeah, go ahead. Toss it in. Go ahead, Liz. I'll take a look at it. Shoot it my way. Drop it in. We'll give it a look. Alright. So let's go with the message. So I think I can... There's a die I can roll here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8... 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, there's 12. So let's roll 2 12s. See if we can put them together separately. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So some sort of game. Like a tic-tac-toe or something like that. Or like they're keeping score of something. Like somebody like scratched in onto the wall. Then 12, 11, 10. Something is smeared. So I'm going to go... I'm just going to reduce this to game. And we'll... Used to smeared. A little smear of lox. Or bagels. Little cream cheese. So interaction with it will break whatever this is. And we do know that there's going to be a pedestal in here. I guess we should maybe start to think of like who is this religious area to. Obviously this is a fiendish area, so it's gotta be one of the fiend lords. It just simply must be. It simply must be. Who, though, is not super important. I mean, I don't think that'll be super important. I don't think I want it to be super important in the current campaign I'm running. Maybe it's not denominational. It's just all the fiendish lords. Yeah, we can have like maybe the game on the side is actually not they think it's a game, but it's actually like tallies for sacrifices or something like that. There's blood smears all over it. Nice little, we've got that pedestal. Maybe it will be like a nice basin on it. That's of course going to be very bloodstained for all the obviously live sacrifices and blood sacrifices they will be making to the fiendish lords. I'm good with all of those. I'm trying to think if there's anything I can maybe toss around the expectation. But what I'm gonna do is, you know what? I can pull up the actual thing. I'm gonna throw you guys to my bright and shiny face real quick. I'll pull that up. It's so low dark, rather than use the paper one that I have. Oh. Load PDF. Load. Load like the wind. Alright, here we go. Alright, so 2D100s. Never seen something like this before. This is a prompt chart. It's used for a lot of like solo RPG, like if you're wanting to roll D&D and stuff by yourself. And sometimes you need questions. You need to answer questions like, if I was a solo character walking into this room, what is this place for? I can roll 2D100 rolls. And that kind of gives me like a verb and a noun to maybe riff off of something. So 86, defeat, and 45, defeat ambush. Ambush. I feel like there's something there. I think we can do something with that. Up that down. So I'm gonna put in here like defeat ambush. Defeat ambush. What could that mean? That could also just be the message that we're seeing. Ooh, actually I have a very, very good idea of what this could be. Ooh, this would very much be like a divination kind of chamber thing. I like that. We know that there are some people in this area within the campaign world, the followers of Okeanis, the cult, whom... Cult in a general term, not cult necessarily in D&D terms. Cults would be... D&D cult would be... Traditional D&D cult would be super into a place like this. The cult of Okeanis is more like a... It's splinter religious sect, like it's separate... like a schism kind of thing, religious thing. So they're very much like still good guys, I guess. Do things like fight fiends. And they could have been in this area and they could definitely be part of this. So I like that. So I think defeat ambush, so maybe they're trying to it could be a divination thing. It could be like a summoning thing. It could be a summoning thing. That's maybe more fun. Some sort of summoning thing. I like that. I'm thinking maybe, yeah. Pistol will be like a summoning. Minor fiends. And that can always be a trick or trap. One of the traps that I do have in this guy, another thing, there are a lot of different traps. Not every trap is just, it tries to kill everybody. Lots of traps are like this. Some traps do other things. Some traps alarm things, they keep people in place, they do other stuff, they attack their resources, they're anti-magic zones. There's lots of weird, fun, lots more stuff you can do with traps and hazards than just do HP damage. And one of them in here is a summoning trap. A summoning trap, when you screw up, summons monsters. So if we summon some minor fiends in here for them to fight, that could be good. I like it. I like it thus far. So I think that's like, that'll be the incorrect thing if they mess something with. So maybe it was like prepared to go off, but nobody's messed with it yet. Or they're going to see something with a bunch of blood in the bowl, and you know, eventually somebody's going to cut their hand and put blood in the bowl, and if it does, it's going to summon some minor fiends. Which is not going to be good for them. I like that. I think that'll be the hot, yeah. Minor fiends. I'll just put it here. Perfect. Yeah, we'll go with that. I like that as being away. All right, Liz. So the idea is to have a pink glitter doom guy kind of thing. Okay, pink rainbow bubble breathing dragonborn. who is an Oath of Vengeance paladin, is extremely hateful to fays or elves. Super Barbie pink, glittery, and full of rage when the person he's woven revenge are in view. Well, if it's rage-filled, you determine whether you... Paladin Vengeance could do that. But you could also go the Barbarian route if you wanted to do that. Yeah, you're thinking it may cause problems with the whole thing. Is to kill all he dislikes according... I mean, you are basically saying, hey, I want to play a specious, racist kind of character, which is not always great, especially if you end up having elves in the party. Or fae in the party. There are other creatures that are now faes. So goblins are now fae. A lot of other types of PC characters can also be fae. So if you foresee it causing problems, potentially, for sure. Especially because you're probably going to run across elves, and they're probably not going to be people you're supposed to attack. How would you gently fix it so as not to be bad without destroying the idea? First, you should talk with the actual DM for the game. That would be number one, because they'll probably be able to give you more insight. Otherwise, I can just give you like general stuff, but I don't know anything about the campaign that you would be stepping into, the campaign world of it. Because in my world, if you were jumping in, if you were playing in the campaign that I'm making stuff for right now, and you were like, hey, I want to play this Dragonborn who's hates elves and fae. There's plenty of fae around, and that's not a huge problem. But there are a lot of elves too. They're a pretty significant portion of the population, at least where my current campaign is. They're like 20% of the population or something like that. It's like you just go around town killing people. Well, there's gonna be problems with that. I guess maybe what might be helpful to do is take that conflict and instead of making it an external conflict, make it an internal conflict for the character. Juxtaposing both this sense of vengeance for things like the Fae and elves, but also the very, very paladin vibe of following the law and order, and be like trying to figure out clarity as to how do you know when to kill, when to not kill. I would just expect, like, if I was going to run a character like that, I would expect, like, their long-term kind of growth arc, character-wise, to be, like, get to a point where it's, like, not all elves, not all fae are bad. That's what I would assume, is, like, this is, like, a unlearning of something. Being exposed to a larger world, you learn more than what you had been taught previously. But yeah, I mean, because I know if I was a DM in that case, and certainly I've done this, played many just kind of blind games, like at game stores and stuff like that, where you run a game and you don't know what kind of character's going to show up at the table, and you don't necessarily know what kind of player is going to show up at the table. And they do stuff like this, and there was like, oh, there's a conversation or somebody in the party, and they immediately fly into this rage and they try to kill every elf that they see. Be like, okay, you get like the one-off, and after the one-off, if you don't lock in to come up with the reason as to why your character is going to get along with these people, the process of being a person who is playing a game with other people, what happens is that you go, oh, then what's going to happen is essentially your PC will become an NPC. It'd be like, that's great. That character goes off to do their thing. They might show up later as a bad guy in the campaign, or as a hireling that maybe you could hire on. But it's like, as part of the main party, that if they don't want to be with the party, then they can't be with the party. They can't figure out how to be with the party, then they can't be a part of the party. The problem is there is no DM. I would take it to them, but we are missing a DM. Okay, well, I wouldn't make a character before you know anything about the game you're going to play. That's the real answer. That's sometimes a very newbie D&D player mistake, is to make a character for a campaign when you don't know what the campaign's going to be yet. I've I've been playing and running D&D for a very long time, and most of the time it works out very poorly when that happens. What you really want to do is make a character for a specific campaign. Otherwise, it's like having a video game protagonist in the wrong video game, where they just don't make sense. It's like putting a Doom guy in an Assassin's Creed game. Like, it's not gonna work. Like, they just aren't going to be able to complete that game correctly in like a fulfilling way. They're gonna be way more chaotic and much more of a problem than going to be. Or if you bring it to, you can always bring it to whatever you find that DM. The DM be like, hey, this is an idea that I'm toying with. How can I make that work in your game? And then that becomes a more collaborative thing. But yeah, I wouldn't get too sold on it before, especially if you don't have a DM yet. You're still waiting for a dungeon master or game master. That's going to be the key component you're going to need before you start figuring out what to play. Alright, so I think that this is going to be... Yeah, so this can be like a shrine, I think. We'll say the offering shrine. That's what we're going to call this, the offering shrine. Right, okay. So on the wall we're going to have this message. We're going to have tally marks scratched into stone and smears of blood. And I guess blood smears. Would be the better way to say that. And blood smears. So we're going to take this guy and we're going to put this down here. Like that. And this is more of an exit thing. We haven't been doing exits yet, but we'll say. Past Vegeman break-in. To BO1. I don't think we have a name for BO1 yet, do we? No. Alright. That's okay. We don't need to know that right now. Alright, so we're going to have this... Well, the point of this is to defeat the ambush, so they're going to be summoning minor fiends here. You know... Anything we want to say about the shrine? Shrine room. A central pedestal. And make it overt by chalk lines of a magic circle. We'll say faded. Or fading. If we say faded, that makes it seem like it's not working. If we say fading, that gives the impression that's like, yeah, it might still be working, but maybe not as well. So we'll say our tally mark scratched into stone. I'll say smears and tally mark scratched into the stone. That'll do it better. Pedestal. Basin, discolored with dried blood? Question mark? Feel like, as adventurers, we kind of know what dried blood looks like. I think that's pretty reasonable. Not really a check to be like, is that blood? adventurers kill and have seen a lot of things killed, especially by party level 4. It's like, yeah, that's almost definitely blood. That's the only thing you know that's kind of that color. So doesn't necessarily break, and I think maybe it breaks as in that it only works once, maybe? Yeah. So interaction with burns the last energy out of the cell. Summons, and we can go look this up real quick. Let's go I think a pretty standard like 1-to-1 fight, so we're looking for about 4 creatures. Let's go with you know what, let's just go straight to the encounter builder. As always, I'm going to use the 2014 encounter building rules, because if I don't, and it doesn't take on the like multi monster penalty, I will just smoke my parties. That is a lesson that I have learned the hard way, and now I know it. So let's go with CR range. Let's go 1/8. I think they should be getting about 1/2 is probably the correct amount, I think. I'm gonna scooch up. I should have just... There's too many 1/4s. 1/2. Yes, lightning methods. Can I get 4 of these guys in a fight? I can do better. I can do better than that. I don't think I can do 1s. Can I do 1s? Can't get 1s. That couldn't possibly be correct. Yeah. Okay. So it's just gonna have to be 1/4s. That's as much as I can do. I'm good with that. I'm good with 6 lightning methods. Well, not lightning methods. 6 1/2 fiends. We'll go to the bestiary. It's 5e tools, by the way. Paying attention. This is 5e tools. So we need something that's 1/2, and we need something that is fiendish. And we're gonna sort by our CR here. Not that way. This way. Demo bats. Jackalwares. Jackalwares are real nasty. Certainly not that. Man, we don't really have a lot of great. I guess we can use the Null Warriors. There's nothing here that's like... What's the Cackler? Lots of resistances, immunities to poison, and innate spellcasting, and charisma. Precious hideous laughter. Cackler dies. It releases a dying laugh that scars the minds of other nearby creatures. Each creature within 10 feet of the Cackler, which will probably be most. This is not a particularly large room. It's only 20 by 40. Each creature within the Cackler must succeed on DC 11 Wisdom saving throw or take 1d4 psychic damage, which the others are not going to be immune to, which could lead to a cascade. Yeah, I like the mimicry stuff. You can really kind of like throw it up a little bit. Oh, they can also use firebolts at will. They got a bunch of stuff going on. Alright, fight, spike chain. I mean, they're pretty simple guys to run. Feels like these are really supposed to be more things that you talk to, but that's okay. There's a Nuperebo. And poison, blah, 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 blah. Cloud of vermin. Any creature other than a devil starts its turn within 20 feet of one or more Nuperebos must DC 11 con saving throw or take 5d4 acid damage. Ooh, yes, this is the one we want. A creature within the areas of 2 or more Nuperebos makes a saving throw with disadvantage, which they will almost certainly be within that range. Because it's 20. Yeah, this will take up almost the entire place. Yeah, I'll absolutely smoke my players with it, and that's what I'm looking for. So I'll probably knock it down 1. I'll probably knock. Can I do 4? You know what? I'll do 5. That should be enough to get almost everybody in disadvantage. The 9 health new people can flawlessly track any creature. I think this works very much with our... If they decide to run this thing, these things are going to be able to track them down. I love that. Oh, they are blind sight 20 and they're blind beyond that radius. Oh, very cool. Alright. That actually makes them much easier to get away from. This is one of the things that's kind of a problem with D&D. So this is where something like this doesn't... How does this interact with something like the ranger's ability to... or not the ranger. Pass without a trace. How does this interact with pass without a trace? I guess it doesn't matter because it's in the 9 health. I didn't read the preface. The first part of that. Okay, so they're not in the 9 health, so we don't have to worry about them flawlessly tracking a creature. But then, still, how would that work? Because it doesn't say that it's magic. And pass without a trace is very specific about being only tracked by magical sources, I believe. Or I'm thinking about the wrong... I could be thinking about the wrong thing. There is an ability or character that says something of that nature. Yeah, we'll do these guys. We'll do 5 of them. You know what? They're gonna have some pretty tough fights in here, I think. So I might drop it down. I might make this just an easy one. I usually don't do that, but they'll have come through already, maybe taken on like 3 potential attacks, depending on which way they end up coming from. I mean, this will probably be the first one before they go into something else, but because it's right next to the break-in point. Yeah, 4's fine. I don't have to make a killer. Technically, that's a medium encounter, and I almost always make hard encounters. But I can do 4. 4's fine. Here, 1/2. Boom. But yeah, there's no loot in this room, so that's going to be everything for this room, I think. That all makes sense to me. Alright. We'll say stone dragon room. I'm just gonna put that down here, surrounded by fading chalk outlines. Cool. Room on the wall are blood smears, tally marks. Pedestal. Facing discolored blood. Not a question, just a statement. Surrounded by fading chalk outlines of circle. Interaction with burns the last energy out of the spell circle. Summons for Nuparibo. Yeah, very, very simple room. Go over here, you start screwing with stuff. Oopsie poopsie. Here come the fiends. Then you have a nice little attack fight with them, and then they'll move on. Like I said, it's more likely, since they are likely to be coming in from this point into the dungeon. There's multiple ways you can get into the dungeon. This is the most likely way, because I think it's going to be one of the only 2 spots above ground that you can get into it from. Going to be where the Vegemen were trying to dig a well and they broke into this passageway. That's one. So if they head this way, they'll be going, they'll head directly into Area 4. From there, they can split off into a few different directions. Basically, they can turn and they go through this way, and they can go see, oh, there's the cantina, and then the game hall, and the flooded jail. Or they'll go this way towards the flooded storehouse, and then they'll see it decline, and the passage is going to disappear down into that dirty, stagnant water. But also, there's a different way they can go around, and they can go around to, yes, area number 6, the knowledge area. Which will be this. I think it's going to be the one we're going to work on next. But I'm going to take a short break, and I'm going to go get myself a little bit more coffee, do a little bio break, then we'll jump back in, and we'll do at least one more. If we're quick, which each of these might be, we might finish off 2, and if we do, that's the entire A side of the dungeon completely done. We can probably knock out the exits at that point, and then I'll move on to Section B, which we've already started and worked on a little bit. And we can finish that out. The giant side. So we'll finish up the fiend side, and then we'll move on to the giant side of the dungeon. Because it's truly like 2 little dungeons slapped together. Alright, that's the plan. You guys hang on. I'm going to take my short break, and I'll be back in just a minute. Alright? See you then. And we're back. Thanks for hanging out. I realized, got in there, I was like, oh right, I'm out of coffee. Or I had to make some decaf coffee. And which I'm almost out of decaf coffee, so it's very much a danger zone. Let's go over here. Yeah, okay. Alright, so we can do this. But it's covering my face! It's okay, we can do this way. There we go. Now it's not covering my face. Because I don't need these extra document tags. But this way, it'd be easier. I'm doing it this way to do and do it that way. Alright. Let's keep moving on. You know what? I'm gonna make this a little bit larger. Oh, that's the wrong way. There we go. Ta-da! We've done it. Alright, because I don't think that we'll need to look at a bunch of other stuff, and if you can always throw us what to do with the rolls if we need to, but most of this is just kind of looking at stuff. Alright. So, finish our offering shrine. We already did the flooded storehouse, we don't have to do that. That's the one we grab next time, so now we're on to the knowledge area. So knowledge area can usually mean a few different ways. Different things. Usually it's like a library or a scriptorium or some other place where knowledge is held. But it can be other things. Oh, that's right. This one has this weird thing that's in the middle. I forgot it's got the pit that's in the middle. So yeah, we were going to do that. I'm going to do this. And that's going to be a pit. And we're going to go straight with floor slope. We're falling away to a central pit. The center before falling away into a pit. Okay. So probably gonna be a large pit. So I'm gonna say that 10-foot pit. That makes sense to me. Alright, that made that super easy. We rolled another statue pillar carving for this one as well. So we got the pit. We know that there's going to be some sort of magic item in here. Sometimes when we come up with something like this, it's like, what do we do for the actual knowledge? Like, what kind of knowledge is here? What is the focus on? We know this is very fiendish. I'm always a big fan of. Big fiend. I'm a fiend for the fiends. But I think what let's do is I'm going to say, I'm going to throw you guys back over to full screen. And let's roll. See if we get anything off for prompts. 4467. Link. Secret. Link some secrets. That could mean something. Get that my way. Alright, so we're gonna say link secrets. I love these little prompt tables for kind of GM stuff. And obviously I use them whenever I do solo gaming too, which again we're going to pick up on this Saturday. We're going to pick up our newest session of our new A River Apart solo campaign. And we got real close to dying last time. Almost a full TPK. Things almost went real bad in the Prince's Castle. But at this point we're going to make a run for it. We're going to get out of Castle Town before somebody tries to kill Reed, our main character, again. He's been almost kidnapped and now almost killed, poisoned. So we should probably leave before, 1 for 3 is a pretty good batting average, and I don't really want to take those odds, and I don't think my characters do either. So we're gonna make a run for it. Make a run to the northern marches along our kind of circuitous route to kind of go through what we think is going to be safe areas. But who knows? We're not quite sure who's trying to kill us. We got some pretty good ideas, though. We know Osrier, the Custodian Osrier is high on that level list. And also somebody within the Druidic Order. We don't know. Or somebody who paid them. Alright, so some sort of statue, pillar, or carving. Link secrets. This could be like a Hierophant thing. Devils themselves are, or the fiends are also allegedly under the jurisdiction of the gods. So it could be something. Does this make sense to be sort of like a repository library thing? Maybe I should ask this. There's a pit. Is it some sort of creature or entity in the pit, which is the provider of said knowledge? I like that a lot. I'm thinking like a something weird, something aberrant. I'm thinking like a gibbering mouther, something that's like has all sorts of like scary whispers, mad ramblings that these demons are trying to interpret into trying to pull a single shred of thought out of a sweater of madness. Mad babbling. I like that a lot, so I'm gonna say highly likely. Alright, yep, got it by 1. That's nice, rolled an 8 with the +3 makes it 11. I like it. Okie dokies. Alright, so yeah, let's do that. Does that make sense? Let's get something down here. Let's get something. It has to be up to top of the CR. Let's like CR 3. Yeah, we could say CR 4, and you know what? Let's bust up to like 7. And I wanted to do something like aberrant. Do the opposite CR. An ancient Grick. Is Grick not the one that eats your brain? What's the one that eats your brain? Not mind flayers. I know mind flayers eat brains. The little brain guys. God, what are those guys called? Gnome Ceramorph. Yogans are pretty dumb. Yeah. Magic can't read the Syrian's thoughts. 2 heads. This one's pretty cool. Psychic Crush. Target can see within 120 feet of itself. The target must make a DC 16 wisdom saving throw, taking 21 3d10 plus 5 psychic damage on a failed save, or half as much. That's standard action. That'll absolutely kill villagers if I do that. Ooh, Eater of Knowledge. Brains devoured. When the Eater of Knowledge is first encountered, roll 1d10 to determine the number of brains it has already consumed. Extract brain. Yeah, psionics. This could be a fun roleplay encounter, because this thing has plane shift. At 0 brains. So if it's got just a dimensional anchor, and fiends are partially immune to a lot of this stuff. I like this. I think this can work. So that way, if I use the Eater of Knowledge and have it be more of an... not set it up to be like a combat encounter. Like, this thing's down in the pit. It's got the dimensional anchor on it. It can't get out of the pit. So they're like... they've been feeding it brains. and using it to get information of. It's also psychic, so it's probably got telepathy. Yeah, telepathy 120 feet. Which I think, does telepathy go through Wall of Force? That's a good question. As if so, I can just throw down Wall of Force on top of it and not have to worry about it with Dimensional Anger. That's some high level stuff, but not terrible. I'm just gonna look that up real quick. Can telepathy go through? I think it can. Telepathy can typically go through a Wall of Force in D&D. The wall is invisible, it does not block a line of sight, and mental communication is generally considered non-physical, allowing it to bypass a physical barrier. Because the wall is transparent, creatures can see each other, allowing spells that require sight but not a physical projectile like scrying or certain divination. But then all of it could use all its stuff going out. Even though I think a lot of fiends are immune to things like charm effects and frightened effects. So I don't think like all the suggestion stuff works on them, because there's technically charm abilities. And who cares if it's invisible, as long as it's still in the same place. Yeah, so I think you can talk to this thing for sure. And so they could do something stupid, like figure out how to get this thing out, which would be very stupid. But they could always free it and see what happens. Of course, the moment that they figure out how to stop it. So I don't think that they'll be able to deal with the in the dimensional anchor. Oh, there's the shackles. Yeah, let's go with the shackles. Yeah, you can use a... Get out of here. Dimensional shackles fit a creature of small to large size, which is a large creature. That works. They prevent a creature bound by them from using any method of extra-dimensional, in addition to serving as mundane manacles. DC 30 strength check, which this creature definitely could make. Well, no, they couldn't. They could technically only get a 24. Because they are not trained in athletics, surprisingly. Top comment: amazing how many massively powerful creatures still don't have a high enough athletics mod to escape these. Yeah. Because they generally don't give them that. They generally, indeed, don't give even big strong monsters athletics. Which is weird, because almost any sort of grappling check you would think that they would have athletics for. And they don't, they just have very high strength mod. Yeah, I like this. We can have the Eater of Knowledge down there, doing this thing that they kind of talk to, and it's just maddening whispers of psionic. It doesn't actually speak or anything like that. Yeah, obviously if you try to fight this thing, it's going to be a bad time. This is not meant to be a combat encounter, but anytime that you throw down a creature that has a stat block, there is always the chance that players are dumb and they will just attack it. But it'll be down in the pit by itself. And we're going to put something over the top of that pit. Or we could always just make the pit like this. So if you have sort of angled walls, you can't really climb up those without a climb speed. Which this thing also does not have. Even though it has a speed 40. Has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think this will work. And I can put the dimensional shackles down there. The dimensional shackles... Now the question is, do I consider the dimensional shackles to be the magic item that is in here? Maybe? Because it's going to want to get out, and if they go out of their way to get this thing out, which I'll let them do the DC 30 instead of strength athletics check, which is what it usually is to get out of the dimensional shackles. I will let them do a DC 30 thievery check, or like lockpicking check. Get those things out, which somebody could potentially pass. They're still going to have to roll very high though. Let's see, that they probably have a +4, plus another 2, so that's 6. They got a 4 on a guidance. That would get them the +10 they need to on a natural 20 to it. The idea is that this thing would still take forever. The likelihood that they're going to get it off in one go is unlikely. So I'll need to check for like wandering monsters or something. I'll have to make an effort check. Which is fine, I can translate that very easily. I can take 30, 5 rounds, 150. Every round they make a check until they hit 150. Every roll they make a check, I'm going to make a wandering monster roll. On a 1 or a 6, whichever, monsters show up. Back, so trying to get these things off could lead them into taking a whole bunch of combats. Unlikely, but still possible. Is it worth that? Maybe. Dimensional shackles are a pretty cool object. They're a pretty cool magic item. The ability to lock down anything, because dimensional shackles stop things, any sort of planar travel. So that includes Dimension Door, Misty Step, Vanish. Like, they just can't be done. These creatures. So there are reasons you might even put them on yourself in the right context. I like it. I think this will work. Let's see if they, unless I wanted to throw something. There's the Mind Witness too. I forgot about the Mind Witness. That would also be a good one. That guy is a lot more dangerous though to mess with. Chaos Quadrupod. Probably not a spectator. I'm just seeing if there's anything else that kind of jumps out that would be another good thing to put in here. Gosh. This Gosh is really nice. This would also work really well, and there's a little bit more in the CR of what we want to deal with. The only problem is it's got a climb speed. I could always just take that out, but Psychic Grell. But the idea that this guy, gosh, mind probing antenna, which is what I think somebody would use it for, is they're going to bring people in here and try to like pull information out of their brains. As a servitor. Now they wouldn't need the shackles for this, but you would have to have something that keeps them in there, because they can climb. And if you get the Wall of Force in there, then you can't put anything in the hole, which is not the functionality of what they're trying to do, because it has to grapple to do that thing. Oh boy, where stuff starts to get kind of weird. No thick. The Mind Flayer, no thick. I could just put a Nothic in there. That'd work. What's the difference between these guys? Not really anything. This guy gets keen insight. Or keen sight. Rotting gaze. Oh, mind blast versus rotting gaze. These are maybe a little bit closer to what I want. This one's immune if it's charm. The regular Nothic, it doesn't care whether you are immune to charm or not. It just happens. What is the range on these guys? 120 feet. But the Mind Blast is only 30 feet. That makes this much better. Yeah, but then they also, if they're immune to being charmed, we might just hand wave that part. We can do that. We're the DM. I could also just, like, take down the 120 Rotting Gaze, because that's a... Why is it so... Why is this Rotting Gaze got to have so much distance on it? I have no idea. That's a ton. Yeah, I like Nothic just because, I mean, I like the other one a lot better. But now that means I don't have to use the Dimensional Shackles, which means I can use the magic item for something else. Intellect Valor. That's what I was thinking of. Just stun condition. Consume his brain, teleport inside the skull, while the Intellect Valor has total cover against attacks, so blah 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 blah. After the target's game knows everything the target knew, including spells and languages. The host body dies. The intellect leave it. The intellect devours. Also forced to the party. So I can make it a very tricksy thing if I wanted to. I could do a little turducken situation, and I could put an intellect devourer inside a Nothic and be like extra weird. Which we could do. I don't know if I want to get too far into it. Nothic's pretty good. It's an iconic character, especially anybody who's played the Phandelver. Like, the Nothic really stands out as a monster in that. Such a weird monster. So I think I'm good with just it being just a regular old Nothic, and they're just using it to try to pump this thing for information. I mean that they will let it go at some point. Now the problem is the 120 feet falling is 12d6. So something falls down that hole. 12d6 is a lot. I don't even know, what is that? I don't even know what that math is off the top of my head. Up to 72 points of damage, which could straight up kill a PC. Unlikely to, but it could just straight up at max hit points kill a PC. And that was assuming that I rolled nothing but sixes, which is unlikely. The more dice you roll, the closer it's going to be towards that average, which is 42. Which will still really hurt somebody, but probably won't kill them outright unless they're already way down on health. Yeah, we'll go with Nothic. I like it. Sorry, sometimes I get down in the weeds. Bit wide. Ooh, that's caps lock. I don't have to make it that far down. I can just make it like 50 feet. Now this thing can blast out of that. Unless we used anti-magic zone. There could be a little anti-magic thing. I'll just ask the dice. Anti-magic? At the top? No. Okay. They were just good at avoiding it, maybe. Sometimes that's all it needs. Maybe it's not a safe thing. Maybe there's a bunch of bodies of fiends down in there. Yeah, they've got ranks. They don't care that much. They don't care if a guy falls in there. I'm gonna say, you know, just for fun. Just to make it a little slightly more interesting, I'm gonna say it's 60 feet deep. That means they're gonna have to figure out, you know, one rope won't do you. You're gonna have to have 2 ropes. No thick, CR2. Surrounded by bones. Some fiendish. Like, I think it'll be very easy for them to look at and be like, oh, yep, there's definitely some fiend bones down there, too. So our statue, pilling, or carving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so let's roll 12. Quick, I rolled an 8. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Lovers. Lovers would be weird here. I'm gonna reroll. Yep, okay, I got. So yeah, that makes me feel like Hierophant. Yeah, I'm gonna say that, like, rather than pillars, I'm gonna say like the carvings around the edge. Our interpretations of Hierophant. The Hierophant is one of the custom deities in the world of the game that I'm running, and just my general world. If you've seen any of my world building stuff in general, he's one of the main ones. He's in charge of secrets and magic and stuff like that. He looks like Lich, essentially. That's what he looks like. Actually, I have a thing of him. Let me pull him up. Because I made and I put together, I'd say, these sort of like tarot card looking things. That's a Hierophant. They're in charge of, like I said, magics and secrets, and cleverness is kind of their domain. They're kind of a trickster, magic, but also undeath kind of god. Very interesting. But yeah, they pretty much just kind of look like a lich. Most of the time, that's how they're interpreted. Not evil. I don't do that very like D&D duality where there's just like bad gods. All the gods have bad aspects to them. All of them have pretty good aspects to them. And it's a true pantheon, so you pray to the god that's over the thing that you're trying to get influence from them. Alright, so we got that one done. Boom. Alright. So there's some sort of hazard, obstacle, trick, or trap in here. After I spent way too long trying to figure out what kind of creature was down at the bottom. So the Nothic's going to have a lot of info. Info. Wants to be rescued. Now, whatever the loot I end up rolling up, I might put that magic item down with them still, so they can decide to kill this Nothic. You know, that's a karma question for them. That's a perfectly reasonable thing if they just want to sit at the top here and just blast it. But I am going to remember that they're going to be like, I'm sure one of my characters will be like, oh no, it's cool, I have Firebolt, it's 120 range, and then they're gonna get absolutely rocked by this, no, don't need to roll dice. Get absolutely rocked by this Rotting Gaze. Where they're just gonna take a whole bunch of necrotic damage. They're trying to use their Firebolt. And they'll also have that weird insight. Hopefully using the weird insight to kind of like pull strings, pieces of information from the player characters, or ways that they can maybe lie to them or talk to them about. Even though they're not very good at, they actually have a -1 in charisma. They're not a very deceptive kind of creature, even though that would maybe be a better build than just being a stealth-based creature, which is what they are. I like the interpretation a little bit better, but I didn't make the monster. And provides info, wants to be rescued. So this Nothic's not spoiling for a fight. That's not what they're looking for out of this arrangement. They in fact want to get the heck out of here. That's what they want. They want to get out of here. And player characters represent the best opportunity for them to do that. So, my only question being... I'm just taking a look real quick. I assume there's going to be a trap. Yeah. We can use trap or trick. I've got the guys in here. Let's roll them up. I think it's a D12. Improvised traps. D12. Let's see what kind of thing it is. So we'll roll twice. I'll take whichever one I like better. 5 and 7, or try to put them together if I can. A resource eater. Anti-magic or dispel. Yeah. Either one of those is good. Resource Eater's not going to deal with that guy very much. But anybody who might try to get him out of there, maybe. Yeah, I'm good with either one of those. So because I'm good with either one... because I'm good with either one, I'm going to go with Resource Eater. I think that's going to make the most sense. So I've got hit die, spell slot, GP, other stuff that we can take from them. Maybe... Guy is also like a death thing, so maybe they get mashed with some... Maybe if you stand on these... Stand on the Hierophant Stones, then... You gotta do like a con save or you lose a hit die, maybe? I think so. Sometimes I like to do hit die damage rather than hit point damage. Hit point damage is fine, but it can always be healed later on through either magic or a short rest. Hit dice are actually more difficult to get back, so it's actually more difficult when you lose a hit die that you weren't expecting to spend. Yeah, so we'll make it a con save. DC 14, that's pretty... so we'll say that... Stones is con save or lose one hit die. Like if they make the mistake once, it's not a big deal. If they really want to have a conversation with this thing or really get eyes on this thing, they can do that, and they can, as long as they keep making their con saves, they're fine. Which for most of the group, they only need to roll a 10 to make this DC con save. Because most of them have a +4 to con saves, except for one who has a +12. Or +2. So he would need to roll a 12. So that'll be our hazard, obstacle, trick, or trap. That's easy. So now we need some loot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. What did I roll? What did I roll? 11, 11, 17, 13. which is 3 trade goods and currency. Sorry, 3 trade goods and currency. We're gonna knock one of those trade goods down to 2 because we know for sure there's gonna be a magic item here. Let's go ahead and do the magic item first. What is it? We have to roll a 15 or better. Is that right? I did not. A 13. I will double check, but I'm for sure that's gonna be a common item. It sure is. Then we'll roll that D10 to determine, like, is it a consumable item? Is it a permanent item? What is that? That's an item with charges. The 9 is an item with charges, so it's a common item with charges, which is probably going to be a wand. We'll figure that out. These are the things that always take me a little bit longer, like trying to figure out the no-tick, trying to figure out which maybe magic wand to give them. Probably overthinking it like a lot. And that's just how I am sometimes. Common charges. Alright, let's do the other stuff because it's gonna be easy. So let's do currency. Big money, no whammies. Yikes. Alright. There's not going to be much in the way of money. I'm going to be a real stickler when it comes to money, and the dice back me up for a reason. I promise it's really not that hard to get decent amounts of currency. It's just, you don't ever seem to roll high for it. I don't know. My DM dice, I guess. Alright, 7 and 10. Or sorry, it was 1 and 5. Alright. So, a D20 silver pieces. Not much. I'll wrap that up to 12, so 12 silver. We'll just go up to 12 silver. 2 trade goods. What could they be? What could they be? 18 and 7. Some sort of religious item. And then coffee, tea, tobacco, something like that. Yeah, let's go with oh gosh, I'm gonna have to look that back up. But they're gonna get another thing from something they already had. I like that. They haven't had one of those in a long time. This is the very beginning of the campaign. So I'm happy to give them that again. Which is their coffee-like thing. And the other thing is... They rolled... Oh, religious item. Let's get some cash values. 7-2, not very much, I'm afraid. Four. All right, that's good. I think that's worth. Yeah, that'll pretty much be exactly what it was before. I know that I'm not saying that out loud because I can't think of the thing. But I'm just gonna put down here coffee, even though it's not coffee, but it's like coffee. It's a mundane item that's kind of like a magic item. They get the ability. I forget what it is. Either a short rest or a short and long rest, something like that. And the other was our religious item. It's a little bit better, not much though. We just 10. All right, that's 10 silvers worth of. We'll say like a little bone idol. God question mark? Okay. We'll say it's a little bone idol up there. Hierophant. Hierophant idol. Just like on somebody's work desk in here. We'll say it's sort of like a Laboratory. Yeah, let's say workroom. Let's say room. Workbenches. How about that? We'll just call it the Nothing Pit. That's super simple. Won't be confused as to what we're talking about. Alright, we got the pouch of silver. We've got the bone carved hierophant idol. Silver. And we're going to have that magic item, which we'll figure out here in a second. But before we do that, let me go figure out what the stupid coffee thing was. Oh man, what session note is that in? So we're preparing for session 34, by the way. And this is back from like session 3? No. 4? Heavenly Pit. Oh, they're still in the pit at that point. Oh yeah, here we go. The Shiari powder. There we go. Oop. Not what I'm trying to do. Control C. Perfect. It's the Shiari powder. They're gonna find more Shiari powder. Which is technically not a magic item. Mundane item. Yeah, it gives them the alert feat. That's what it does. The 2014 version of the alert feat. So, whenever they drink this, they take the powder and they make it into kind of like coffee. They put it in boiling water. They get the group gets the benefit of the alert feat 2014. So until the end of their next long rest, they are unsurprisable. They all get a +5 to initiative. They grant no advantage to hidden foes, and that's it. And then once they rest, that will wear off. Sometimes I do that where you can take like a feat or something and turn it into a mundane reward. This one is just like, they get a little caffeine. And now I gotta figure out a magic item. So we need a common magic item with charges. Let's go back to, okay, we'll go back here. Items. We're gonna go to common. I guess we'll do it that way. Something with charges, which is generally going to be a wand. What are the ones we have? Nothing good. Smile, Scowls, Pyrotechnics, Conducting, all just kind of whatevers. But let's actually put these in order. We got some staffs, stuff that would make sense for it to be down here. Not a potion. There's a ring. No. Walloping ammo, shield of expressions, staffs, wands, wondrous items. We could give him the bottle of boundless coffee, but no. Again, we want something with charges. Ooh, though honestly, I could give him the candle of the deep. Candle of the Deep would be useful because there is that area that they're going to be going underwater in, so they could pick this up and that would be useful for them. It doesn't technically have a charge, but it is a consumable item, even though it's not saying that it's a consumable item, but it's like a candle. And candles are 6 hours? 4 hours, something like that. Enduring spellbook. Earring of message. Earrings of message, that'd be a good one. That's an item with charges. Does the Nothic have telepathy? Can't remember. I don't think they do. No, they do not. So we could go with that. I don't hate that. Manifold tool. No. The metal of muscle. Consumable. Consumable. The pipes, the pole, pressure capsule, prosthetic leg, rival coin. I think I looked at this before. Yeah, for more training. Normal cube, veteran voting kit. Vox Seeker. The Hat of Wizardry. I think these are one and done too, right? Yes, finishes. That's an Emerald thing. Shark. The shark flashes life and deals 1 piercing damage. The shark can deal damage this way once per hour. That's relatively useless. Did we already use the Mythalar? Yeah. Alright, that's in the solo game and we did that. Food bark, mine crystals, metals. They all work like that, yeah. And yeah. No. Thanks for describing. No. I'd like this if it wasn't just a magical instrument, if it was just a pen instead, which I could reflavor that if I wanted to. But there's no reason not to use this guy. So, let's go ahead and do it. Alright, so earrings of message. First thought, best thought, I suppose. Alright, so. So I think the question I have for myself is, does the Nothic have it? I think almost for sure. Yeah, alright. So it's willing to trade their earrings of message for rescue. Or for assistance. I think that's good. And then the rest of the stuff is just like if they're puttering around, they can find this stuff. I like that. We'll say this is like a research room. Maybe research room. This is like where they fabricate stuff and put stuff together. trying to get information from the Nothik. They can take people, toss them down the pit with the Nothik. The Nothik warps secrets out of them for people who won't say anything, and then the Nothik can give it back to the fiends that are holding it captive. And because the Nothik is a purely arcane creature, it doesn't technically need to eat, I don't think, anymore. It doesn't say that in the stat block, but I always kind of assume that. Is that once the wizard breaks bad and becomes a Nothik, because that's how they're created, it has such a zeal for magic, that it was probably, I mean, the idea is that it was probably lured in here by trying to get the earrings, and then, you know, like baiting a trap, and then they trap the thing in there and use its power to get out there and be like, oh yeah, we're totally gonna let you go. We're definitely gonna do that. You just keep pulling information out of these guys' heads, and before we kill them or whatever they do to them. You know, we're getting a little long in the tooth, but let's go ahead and finish out this last one, and just hope that this one does not take us that long. I don't think it will. So it's a private suite. What kind of buggy wugs do you think are in here? Let's do swarm. Not the spell swarm. The bone swarm. Undead. Skeletal swarm. Flint moth. Obscuring form. Other creatures in the swarm space are blinded, shrink when the swarm is reduced to half their hit points. The size become large. Oh, so they start as huge. Okay, gotcha. Oh, any opening large enough for... Alright, now I understand the stat block. Flutter cutter. No, I don't necessarily want them to be... Nothing super nasty. I could have also used a swarm of dretches. There's CR4 though. But something like that would have been fun into the Nipperebos, but CR4 is a little bit higher than I want to throw at them, I think. I could change that. I put the form of flying swords in there. I mean, that would be a hard encounter. I actually maybe like that better. Yeah, I think we're gonna pull an audible. We'll do a swarm of dretches instead. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you come across a better idea. Swarm of dretches. So we can use that swarm of dretches. Perfect. That will work. Swarm of dretches. Swarm of lemurs. Oh yeah, that's a CR3. That's even better. Swarm can occupy another character. Multi-attack. They make vile slime. And they get down a little bit. Swarm of dretches. I kind of like the fetid aura though. Better for these guys. Constitution saving throw 12. Any creature that starts its turn in a 10-foot emanation originating from the swarm, which is already large. Yeah, that'll be basically the entire room. This'll work. Well, poison target can take either an attack or a bonus action on his turn, but not both, and can't take reactions. Ooh, that's tough. Swarm cannot regain hit points or gain temporary hit points, and multi-attacks, 2 rends. Ooh, 3d6 and 3d4. Ooh, that's gonna be a nasty fight. But they can just choose to hoof it out of there. Yep, it's up to them. Because I think, yeah, surges are still monstrosities. Yeah, I don't know if we. Form of rats is pretty small. I want it to be something that's basically not even worth messing with. Something that's certainly within the the realm of easy. And you know, let's go down to 0 and let me go to swarm. Okay. Why are you bringing up all this other stuff? Not swarm related. Do a roll. Yeah. There we go. There's some swarms. Swarm of tiny bees. Swarm of rats. We can go ahead and add those in. I mean, just. Alright, so one of these guys does a whole lot of nothing. Great. What if we keep pushing them up? Ignored monsters are left out when calculating their encounter's XP multiplier, but their XP is still included in the total. Official guidance is to exclude any monsters significantly weaker than the rest of the encounter when calculating the multiplier. I mean, I could do a swarm of rats. Might just put it together and just be like, it's just a big swarm. Not really that important. Like, it's not really meant to be an encounter. It's just like, man, there's a bunch of rats here. Good to know, like, if they decide to attack it, which our players, you never know. They might decide to attack it. I can be like, yeah, you can attack the swarm of rats, I suppose. If that's how you really want to waste it, but they're not really around you. They're not here. We'll say rat swarms. I'm gonna say like non-combat, not mom combat. Totally different type of D&D game. So I'm gonna go with this personally tricky. Because they haven't come across a lot of places that are just like really dirty, but it looks like maybe this place has been down. So there's gonna be a screen in front of it because I think that's the. Not the only way to get in here, is it? Screens, and then we're gonna have some loot. Yeah, the loot. So there's actually not gonna be much stuff in here, which is fine. I don't think the Merregon needs a lot of stuff. It's almost suspiciously not being used. I think the Merregon's for sure going to be in Section B. He's not in Section A, which was where you might assume he was going to be. He also is Merregon, and they're kind of super low-level bodyguard demons, so it makes sense that he doesn't have like a journal or anything that they might want to know anything from. He doesn't strike me as the sort of creature that would keep up with that or care about that. They're kind of like, I have a mission. I'm going to do my mission. Alright, what did I roll? I gotta roll some loots. Alright, so 2 pocket contents. Trade goods. The trade goods, not the trade goods. Alright, let's go ahead and knock the pocket contents out. 34 and 63. Alright, so 34 is some sort of food, generally under fruit. And then 64, 1, 2, 4 is some sort of list or note. Okay. I think we can figure those out real quick. Fruit. I think we know what's attracting the swarms. And list or note. Put that. So we can figure those out real quick. 30. Have screen. You know what? Just for funsies, let's see if it gives me a good idea of what's on those on the screens. Usually they have some sort of like picture or illustration on them. 15 and 8. 3. Treachery. Oh yeah, okay, so it's maybe we'll do this like it's classic Nine Hells versus the Abyss kind of fiends. The what is it called? Not the Eternal War. I am blanking on it. Nine Hells and the Abyss. Blood War. There we go. Of course, it was named something as simple as the Blood War. Depicting work of in the style of, oh gosh, what is it? Oh gosh, what is the name of that book? The famous piece of literature that's about like the fall of the angels and the fall of Lucifer. Milton, Paradise Lost. Yes, John Milton. There we go. I'm gonna say like in the style of Paradise Lost. That's just for me to help me describe it. Be like, oh, it's this like epic, very versioning on nationalist kind of like war scene that you see from like Napoleonic Wars kind of thing. Like, oh, these two sides, like looking at Victorian look at like antiquity or reimagining of antiquity, and because Victorians were not concerned with things like the truth in their art. That's not a. They're more about like need to make a good story. The truth is of secondary importance to us. This is okay. So we have the screen entrances. Screens at entrance. How do I say screen at? Yeah, screens at entrance. I guess because there's two entrances, so I want there to be screen each. Private suite. I'm gonna say Spartan suite, so I don't think it has like a whole lot of stuff in it. And it's very sort of like there's a bed and there's a desk and not a lot of entertainment or tchotchkes or much else in the way of art or decor or anything like that. It's very, very Spartan. It's surprisingly dirty. I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna say a shelf with jars. Some have fallen on the ground. Some have smashed on the ground. Smell of sugar and rot. Let's put it. Make sure that we have some extra stuff in there. So before they even see it, they're gonna have that smell of sugar and rot. The shells of the jars, some have smashed on the ground. It's going to be part of our loot, and so they're gonna be rats forming around the sticky rotting residue of preserved or fruit preserve. preserved fruits. Like, this is like the one little piece of character flavor that we have about the Merregon. But apparently they like preserved fruits. Alright, so that gives us all this stuff. That'll give us our loot, which is our preserved fruit. So let's roll for that. Alright. Not bad rolls. So 12. Nice. I rolled for the other ones already. 33, so divided by... so we'll make it 36, just make it a rounded number for 4 people. Fighting with my own papers over here. So that's going to be... fruit and syrup. We'll say jars of preserved fruit and syrup. That'll be worth 36. Okay. Pretty nice. You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say Crocs. Some sort of list or note about something. I think it would be silly for him to have the password again. I'm trying to think of what else. What is the other thing they can run into? And then I knock the stuff over. There we go. The only thing else would be in the knowledge area. So yeah, maybe I don't go too far. I mean, I have a tendency as DM to be a little bit more obtuse than necessarily I need to be with information. So sometimes I really have to check myself as like, is this a thing that I should make very, very simple and very clear, or something that I should be like, oh, you as players need to fill in this gap. I think with this one I want to fill in the gap. Because we've very much been down the breadcrumb trail on this. Yeah, I think that lister note is going to be note. Kernel. With questions for let's go ahead and say Templar. I like that better. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I like that. So they've been on the track of the cult Phokianis I kind of talked about earlier, which are not necessarily cult as in D&D. We sacrifice people to raise up demons. They're just a religious cult, so they're split off. Almost they are like early Calvinism kind of thing, where it's just like, oh, we just interpret the holy texts different. We have different beliefs, but we are still very much, we worship the same thing that the overall religious church worships. Just we have some disagreements about what the scriptures, how the scriptures are interpreted and things like that. And how we think things should be as far as religion and how we should lead our lives. A bit of a schism kind of situation. And so this guy's going to be a Templar for that. But again, age of this thing. And then we need our trade goods. That good. 15 and 9. Medicine. Toward a textile. And then we'll roll it again. Ooh, 3's so low. But 19's real high. That'll work. So D10, I need a D10 here. Yeah, that'll work. Doesn't always have to be perfect. So something's gonna be worth about... I got 3 platinum or just 30G. That could be for the medicine. Let's see what I get for the textiles. Higher and kind of medium. Which I think might be 100, right? Yes. A D100, but only in silver pieces. Big money, no whammies. Hey, kind of a whammy. 32. This. Now, there's a list in either the player's handbook, I think in the player's handbook, under trade goods. You know, it's an area that, like, once I discovered in the player's handbook was super helpful as a dungeon master, because it gives you kind of an average price for a whole lot of different, just everyday goods. So you can kind of get an idea. Was like, if I need to give them textiles for 32 silver, what kind of textiles and how much? And this can do that very easily. So this could be just straight up 32 yards of canvas. About 16 yards of... Or sorry. No, I did that wrong. So it would be 32 yards of canvas. Like 6 and some change of cotton. We go up to linen, starts to get up there, and it's like 5 gold per yard. So it kind of gives us some ideas here. Unless we wanted to do the 30G. If we did 30G, we could get up there and be like, oh, that's 3 yards of silk, which makes a lot of sense. I like that better. Bolt of silk. That'll be worth our 30G. And then our medicine will be 32 silver. Medicine is just kind of like this would be like an analgesic, common everyday kind of stuff. Isn't of particular use. We do have somebody who does have kits, like herbalism kit. They could use probably some of that to resupply some of their herbalism kit if they would do. I would allow them to do that. Even though it's not a lot, I don't know if this really counts as like one full thing or not. But they could. I would allow them to use that medicine as 32 silver's worth of components, material components for making another potion or doing something else with their herbalism kit if they wanted to, or healer's kit or whatever. Let's say rotted stick. And that is everything for part A. Now the only thing that's left is we can go in and add the exits. We can do real quick. If we wanted to do that, we could do that. And we don't need those bolded. Exits. 2. Game hall. And it's real serial down here at one end. Game hall. Cantina. And because this is underground, we can technically roll for the doors that are in here, should we wish to, as well as whether anything's happening in between them, which we might do. That would expand this dungeon even more, which is already going to be a beefy boy. All right, the cantina goes to the game hall. And it goes to the offering shrine. And the offering shrine is going to go to the game home. And I think it goes to another slot. Actually, it goes two other ways. Oh, right, you guys. Change that to a T intersection in between. Loaded storage. Almost. Loaded storage and nothing pit. Go back here. Take away some of the bold. Mean to do. Zoop. Knock those back down. And we're gonna have hold that. And we've got the flooded storehouse, which only exits to It's gonna be in from that direction, right? Because it would make... Yes. Okay. So this has got to be at entrance from coming from the T intersection. And there we go. I think just that will do. The intersection. Exits, section, which goes to offering shrine. And the nothing good. So it can go there. Perfect. Knock that out. And if you go the other way, it goes to the Merregon suite. Which is, place is basically going to have the exact same exits. Makes a little triangle down here. But here, loot. Exits T intersection. And loaded storehouse. And also Merregon. And the Merregon suite will exit to put storehouse. 4. No thick pit. But, so what I would also do is put in here and be like, oh, are there going to be any wandering monsters or little tricks, traps in between, in the passages in between these areas? Maybe. That's usually something I do at the very end. Because that's usually something I notate on the map rather than in the key. And do that play from the map. Alright, well that's all of Section A. Section A of the dungeon. They're done! We are done! Halfway there. Excellent. So I think that's a perfectly good place to stop. So that's where we're going to stop it for this one. We can pick up on this next time. We'll pick up some more B, and we'll start knocking out that stuff. That's going to be the giant side. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we took everything. You may notice, we'll stop down here, that these rooms are huge. They are, in fact, giant size, which in D&D mechanically is huge. So they are like triple the size of a normal thing. So that's why you're going to have this private suite, which is 150 feet by 120 feet. That's a huge room. That's just one room. This 240 by 240 giant crypt. That's going to be so fun. Like I said, I think we might throw some undead giants in there. I'm not sure yet. We might have some other stuff. I want there to be lots of places. Once we get into Section B, I want to play a little bit more. The feeling is going to be a little bit more Honey, I Shrunk the Kid kind of style, where it's like, oh, now everything that we're going through is so much larger scale than us. And we can be fighting creatures of our own size, but also creatures of a much larger size where we can maybe run around and hide from them in the room. Which I think could be a lot of fun. Have a different angle of play in D&D that we usually don't experience in most adventures. I think that'll be fun. But yeah, that's everything for this one. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. If you want to tune in and watch more of this stuff, Saturday, we're going to jump back on, and I'm going to do the solo RPG stream, so we're going to jump back into A River Apart. Like I said, Reed's going to be trying to get the hell out of Dodge before somebody tries to kill him, try to kidnap him, try to kill him, or try to get him to kill somebody else. Poison's weird. So he's like, we got to get out of here. We're going to make our way north to the northern marches along our long circuitous route. Should take us some days of travel, if not longer than that. We're probably going to push up and take the ferry across the strait and head down into Rookland, which will be an interesting thing, and pick up the ferry in Rookland, which is a giant bird, and fly us around there. So we're going to see if we can get our mules there and how that's going to work, or donkeys. See how our donkeys go with a giant bird of prey. I assume it's probably not going to go well. We'll probably have to sell the donkeys because I don't think we'll be able to take them with us. I don't think that they're going to be okay with what is essentially a rock, a giant raven that's going to be flying them around. So once we get into the Rooklands and deal with our little crow guys. But we got a long ways to go before we even get there. We've got a lot of things along the way, and who knows what dangers are there in that solo game. But if you like that kind of stuff, or you've never played solo D&D and you want to check it out, come join us on Saturday. We're going to do it. If you like this kind of content, obviously like it, subscribe to it, follow it. If you're over on Twitch, we also have the YouTube, so if you want to catch all the old videos on demand stuff, that's all saved over on YouTube. You can go check it out. It's at RedRaggedFiend, same place. If you're on YouTube, you're already doing it correctly. Don't even worry about it. You can go give us a follow on Twitch if you want to, but whichever platform is better for you. Like it if you like it. If you want to see more, follow, subscribe. That's it for me, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hopefully this was super useful for you guys. Seeing how me as a dungeon master goes through kind of building an adventure, building a dungeon, and adding stuff in, and writing those descriptions for the rooms. And giving me just basically enough that I'm going to feel comfortable improvising it on the fly. Yeah, that's it. And I'll see you guys soon. Alright? Bye.